We're live. Hey, everybody, it's Terry and the team. Welcome to the weekly roundup. Yahoo, I think. I'm not sure. Josh is MIA at the moment. I do believe he will be popping in at some point, but we just thought we would go ahead and get going. So I don't know if anybody saw this, if you've been in the network this morning, but I thought I'd talk about something that, sorry, I'm doing 16 things at once and not doing any one of them very effectively. You know that they say that the whole thing of multitasking is actually not true. Anyway.
Actually completing the task that
Yeah, exactly. Instead of doing one thing really well, you end up doing a bunch of things not so well. So, okay, we're done there. Cool beans. All right, so I don't know if you saw so definitely check it out. I posted it in the network this morning. It was an article that popped up in my news feed. It was from CNN, and it talks about how there's a new ruling that's coming out that I think it's through that. I have to reread it and get all the details, but the FCC, and a lot of it goes to what it's about is that now any gem or recurring membership has to offer a one-click cancellation. And it needs to be online. And this goes to a lot of the draconian measures of some of the big box gems and memberships and things like that, where it's like really difficult. They make it super difficult to cancel a membership. I mean, some of the place I used to go, you even had the only way you could cancel is you actually had to physically come into the studio to cancel or pause your membership.
Yeah.
And I still remember one time when I was there, and this woman called, and I heard the young gal on the front desk saying, well, if you need to cancel or pause, you need to come in and da da da. So this woman walks in, and it was like before my class. And this is why it's just like, and so she walks in and she just looks completely disheveled, dirty, look dirty, and big, baggy, oversized t-shirt that was frayed, and sloppy shorts and shoes that look like they've been around for 25 years, and just completely practically initially looked like, okay, this woman looks like she's about to fall apart. Well, it turns out her house had burned down 3 days before to the ground. The fire was so intense, nothing survived, and she lost her 2 dogs and 3 cats. They've perished in the fire.
Oh.
And she had to come into the fucking studio to cancel her membership.
Yeah.
And their policy was they required a 30-day cancellation notice. Right? So which meant and of course now they're in a financial situation. And I just looked at her, and I had never met her before. And I just said, is it okay if I give you a hug? And she said, I said, I don't care. So I gave her a hug, and she just started crying in my arms. And then the owner happened to be there, and I looked at him. He said, well, I guess we can waive the 30-day cancellation and go ahead and cancel your membership right now, right? I mean, that's what this whole thing is addressing, is stupid shit like that. And we're not saying that in our world that we do that, but that is exactly why this law is being passed, because of stupid shit like that. So what can you do about that? What do you need to do to get ready for that? Guys, have any ideas?
So you weren't asking, do we agree with this or not?
There's no agree. Well, you could agree, yes, do you agree with this, but there's really no agreeing or disagreeing because it's going into law. So
I do agree, for inquiring minds. I do agree. I think if I want to be stopped being charged something, that's my right to do, whether the law says it or not.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Money. And I'm saying, no, I don't want this service anymore.
It should be easy.
Give me a discount, which is optics anyway, as we all know that. And so, no, I don't want this thing. I'm not paying for it. Stop. I think that's completely reasonable.
Oh, Josh is here.
I'm glad that that's going into effect. It's a law.
Yeah. Josh, we're talking about, I know if you saw the article I posted about in the United States, the FCC's passed a law. It's coming into legislation, into law, that is called one-click cancellation. And it's to end the draconian practices of having to cancel a recurring membership payment. and how we're going to need to prepare for that in our studios. And part of the other thing when I need to, like I said, I need to read the article more thoroughly, is that you have to write, they say you need to make it as easy to cancel as it is to sign up.
Hell yeah. I love it. I fucking love this. Let's talk about this.
Yeah, well, that's what we're talking. And so, and the other
Yeah.
thing is when you read the article for sure, and it also states that when people sign up, you have to be 100% transparent. You have to say everything up front, very clearly. Like, this is a membership. It will recur at this cadence, at this price. This is how you cancel. These are the terms, kind of thing. Very, 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 very straight up. And I know most people do that, but sometimes I think we avoid putting it right on the sales page because
I wouldn't put it on the sales page.
I think you're going to have to moving forward.
You're going to I think you're going to have to say that it's a recurring membership.
Yeah, and most people do.
But not, you don't have to have all the policy stuff or something. All right, let's jump in. Let's jump in on this. I could talk for an hour on this already. I love it. I'm so happy that this shit is happening.
Yeah.
And I can play devil's advocate with myself on also, this is like, whatever, deal with your shit.
Well, the other thing is, they said, one of the things they specifically said is they should not have to talk to a human to cancel their membership.
Great. They shouldn't anyways. Why the hell do we do that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
all right.
Okay. Mic drop.
Said you could talk about this for an hour.
We could talk about this for an hour. So, okay. So the practicality wise, like certain softwares in our industry don't allow self-cancellation of memberships. So,
oh, sorry. I'm not even paying attention that we're recording because I came in late. That's why
we're actually
I was like,
no.
we're in the middle of it. Yeah.
Gosh, we are live.
Okay.
We're live.
Okay. Man, so I just got off a call with somebody else and my head's still in their business and has not come back into mine yet.
Switch gears.
Well, switch gears. Principally, like ethically, we talk about like yoga entrepreneur and the yoga ethics of this. Transparency is a fundamental component of this. So of course we should tell people exactly what it is. It should be in the name. It should be there. The whole hyper detail of all of it on a sales page or something. No, I don't think so, but it should easily link out to that.
Well, maybe
and then
it should easily link out to that for sure, but it does need, I mean, like I said, I have to read through it again, but it definitely there's certain things you have to do to be in compliance. Or what happens is people can file complaints with the FCC.
Yeah, it says here could potentially face penalties of up to $50,000 per day for violations per day.
Per day.
Yeah.
You're not fucking around.
Yeah. Here's why I love this. I love this from the perspective that the reason this is even a problem is the bad apple ruins the bunch. This isn't, and I have to say this, like, this is not mostly, there's some exceptions, from yoga studio owners who are pulling some shit. And the reason I say that is like, you can't take this as, oh, we haven't been doing good practices, or like, what we see is studio owners over-index to the scary stuff. They're like, hey, Carol, like you can sign up for this, but also, you know, you're going to have to cancel and it's going to have to be at this time. And like all of the conversation is weighted there. And that's not what I think this is suggesting. No. It's the bad apples of like, you go into a gym, you do this thing, it auto renews, then it's like, you got to fucking go in for a personal interview to cancel.
Yeah, we were talking about that before you jumped on. Some places still require you have to come in to cancel or suspend. And I shared a story about that.
Well, or then there's a boxing gym that wanted me to work with them because we have a mutual friend or whatever, and we didn't take them as a client, bluntly, and I had to tell them straight up because of one single thing, which was to cancel, you had to fill out a print and fill out a form, show up at the place and talk to the guy, which then he super high pressure sailed on, and if you didn't appropriately cancel and just cancel your card or something, he sent you to collections immediately. I was like, I ethically cannot, like, unless you want to change this, I cannot be part of that. It's just not, it's dumb, is what it is, in my opinion. Right. And like, that's how you're going to make money in your business, is by whatever. So
that's what gives sales the bad name. That's what gives salespeople the bad name. Exactly that type of shit.
Yeah. Now, the balance point here is like we have to empower human beings to also take responsibility for their shit. So there's an element there. But I suppose the thing that I love about this the most is the simple statement that you made. As easy as it is to sign on, which should be real easy, I should be able to cancel. So if I have to go to your website, click, fill out a form, purchase in your wellness living platform or whatever, then same thing, canceling. I should click, I fill out a form, which is exactly what most of us coaches do for the most part. Self-cancellation, online, filling out a form.
Or if your studio software, like what Carol pointed out, is it'd be interesting to see, Carol, what were you saying about the other software companies?
Well, yeah, I mean, there's certain software that people use in the YC right now that don't have a self-cancellation process, and that a student could go do it on their own. So it'll be interesting to see if they kind of rush to make that a priority, I think, because then the studio owner, if it's not available in the software, then they are going to have to figure out, like, what is the method that we're going to use? Is it going to be a button on our website, or we're going to have, whatever it is? Or am I going to, just rely on my software to be the solution, and maybe I change my software because this one doesn't have that as an option right now. So just kind of, maybe it'll escalate that to the top of, like, I know some people have been wanting that in certain software that I work with as clients. So
isn't this one of the things, Carol, though, that like I don't know, sometimes things reframe in your mind and then like there's a new layer of clarity, new level of clarity. How the fuck are we talking about the fact that you can have a studio management software for your 7-figure studio that a client cannot cancel their membership in? How is that possible? Is it just me, or does it not seem so bloody obvious that this should be part of it from fucking 20 years ago? Like, what are we talking about?
And even the ones that do have it, sometimes it's not easy. It's still not easy. It's like there's a whole process that we have to explain to people. I mean, it should be really easy, actually. Right.
Yeah. This to me is
standard.
a great
Sorry,
example. Oh, sorry. I think I'm delayed. I was gonna say, this is a great example of how business leadership's the most important leadership of our time. Why do they not have it? They haven't had enough client requests about that specific feature for them to think that it's a profitable building feature. But that just shows that like you're looking the wrong way. You're not even paying attention to what's happening in the industry or the ethics of it. Yeah.
It should be a standard. It should be like, yes, our software offers self-cancellation. We make it super. And to Carol's point, I mean, even though MindBody does offer self-cancellation, you can't choose your cancellation date. So if you're canceling 2 weeks before your membership payment, and so you have 2 weeks left on your membership and you cancel today, you're done. You can't book a class. Whereas like, like something like an Amazon, and I always use these guys as an example, like with the Prime subscription, sign up for stars or sign up, whatever for a month. When you go in to cancel, you can cancel this the day after you do the free trial, and it'll automatically cancel it when that trial ends. I don't have to remember to go back in. And it seems to me that's just, and Carol, you're the one with the IT. It seems to me that's just a function of programming, right? It seems to me it should be able to be done.
Yeah.
Well,
anything can be done. Code.
You guys, look, let me, in the last week, only 1 week, seriously, we've had literal human robots walking around serving drinks. We've had robo car taxis, robo bus taxis, and we've had a 10-story high fucking rocket ship be caught by an arm in midair
and brought down.
We can't code in a fucking cancellation. Yeah. Shut the fuck up. No, I like.
And a robot.
I'm fired up.
And a robot that was able to take off its arms and for self-preservation. Did you read about that?
Yeah.
Right? It was able to like get out of something because it cut its arms off to survive. So, and you're right. And they can't do something like that. And that's because that's just not a priority. We need to make it a priority. And then, and then the other thing, I've been on this bandwidth, I've talked about this before, and my clients have somewhat gotten sick of me talking about, and they said, Tara, we don't want to talk about this anymore, is how much time, like, oh, we want to save the membership. Well, if we do self-cancellation, then we don't have an opportunity to try to downsell them. And I've said this and I've posted about this, is like, by the time someone gets to cancel, they've made up their mind to cancel. The time to save them from canceling is 2 months, a month or two before that. So what are we doing on the retention side? And when they get to cancel, just make it easy, because if you make it easy, and then I know that Carol, you could, like you talked about, is you have a funnel. So if someone cancels, they immediately get into a funnel. And then rather than you going back and forth, well, we have this offer and this, I was just like, put them into a funnel and send that via an email or a text or a follow up. Guess what? Hey, we noticed you canceled. We wanted to know, blah, blah, blah. And spend the time doing that instead of, I had a conversation with the client. I said, how much time, they finally went to self-cancellation on MindBody. The studio has lots of members. And I said, how much time admin time are you spending going back and forth? Think about how much admin time you're saving now. All that admin time can be doing what? Interacting with people, calling people, engaging with people to keep them from getting to what? The point of cancellation. So to Josh's point, we got to seriously flip our thinking on this.
Nina, I think you had something to add.
Yeah, similarly, just the kind of the culture of the 3-month minimum or the 6-month minimum, just that whole business, like, why? But that's a new concept. More
Yes.
than not that people could come and go as they please, and that there's no minimum, the self-cancellation. It's like, that's a relatively new concept for studios.
Well,
So,
I think
software is not caught up.
yeah. Yes, and I think that this will result in a resurgence of that. You're going to have more studio owners solving for this, because I just checked the article and went through too. There is still, this is about transparency and clarity up front for what you're agreeing to, and clarity of path for cancellation. It doesn't mean you can't have terms and conditions. You can still have an early cancellation fee. You can still say there's a term you have to be on or whatever. But the problem becomes like, what are you going to do if I'm 4 months into a 6-month term and I'm like, I want out. I hate it here. I'm not practicing anymore.
Or
I don't even want my money back. I just don't want to pay you anymore. What are you going to do? Like, charge me collections? No way. So, but the point would be, I think this will equal a resurgence in that.
You think?
Yeah, I think owners are going to go back more to like, oh, you got to do a 3-month term or whatever.
Why? Why should they have to do that?
Fear, because they're scared.
Yeah, because it's still, we've always coached towards make it low barrier. It's like sign up and cancel. You can self-cancel anytime online, or you can self-cancel by clicking this button on our website. And then
I had a free coaching call yesterday, you guys. And if you watch this, like, I'm not throwing you under the bus, they did a different coaching program a couple years back or a year and a half ago that I know the content of well, and it coaches to 12-month terms and really selling to that, and et cetera, et cetera. And they just straight said, like, we're 18 months in of having this 12-month term, and that's what we're selling on. And I want people to be on for at least 12 months, or it's not even worth it, or blah, 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 blah. And I am not willing to change that. And I said, that's fine. Like, I don't coach in a way that says you've got to do it my way or the highway, because that's dumb coaching. But I will not sit here and tell you that I don't agree with that completely, that we have no data that supports that as being a good method, and that I don't think that it fits. I think it's counter to your own core values on your website. Like, I have to tell you that as your coach. And we weren't at odds, but it was an intensified conversation because it's a really interesting thought. Whatever. The point being, that's like, do you want people to come in and practice with you or not? And what's the thing that you want them to do? Oh, that was my other point. We looked at a couple of their KPIs. They're still only converting at 24% of people on the intro to something else. Like, I can tell you right now that we can jump this another 5, 8, 10% if you just either add in a membership that doesn't have a term like that, or get rid of that term. It will instantly help you. It'll instantly help you increase it, because you're removing a fear piece for people around this 12-month commitment thing.
Yeah, you make the 12-month commitment your best value. Commit to 12 months, you get this price. But if you're, here's a month, it's still auto pay, it's still a membership, but it's this price. It's $20 more a month or something like that, whatever it is. You want our best deal? Sign up for the year, paid monthly, blah, blah, blah.
But with this new law, so even if they sign for a 12-month agreement, but they want to cancel for whatever reason at month 4, is this law protecting the consumer?
It says that you have to, my interpretation reading it quickly here is that you have to clearly state how cancellation has to happen. So cancellation cannot be more difficult than signing up, one, and two, it needs to be clear, which that's exactly what we would always coach to anyways. Like, what if this scenario, what if this, like, you should pre-decide, okay, if I've got a 12-month thing and someone wants to cancel at month 6, what's our policy? It's not a case by case. It's not a message me and we're going to back and forth 50 times. That's a huge waste of your energy. And it means you can't delegate it to the team. That should be a pre-decided, this is how we handle it.
This is your early cancel. It's an early cancel. If you cancel before the 12 months, we charge an early cancellation fee of X.
Okay.
And that we used to do when my studio, which I purchased when we first opened back in 2011, our policy was, it was a 12-month commitment. And then our cancellation, and this was that, and I finally I did away with it right away, is that if you canceled before the 12 months, because we had the 12-month price was whatever it was, and then the month-to-month was a higher price. So what it was is that what we would do, it was, and it said in the agreement, which was like so lengthy. So we said, we charge you the difference between the special membership price and the regular membership price, and then you can cancel. So if you were in month 10 and you wanted to cancel, it would be like $200 and something to cancel at that point. If you canceled at month 6, and we're like, it was so stupid. Yeah, Josh, it was just the stupidest thing in the world. And I did away with it right away. I was like, that's gone.
As much as like complicated policies are there, two thoughts are coming to mind. Like, what have we seen that's worked? And so in general, with things like cancellation, or someone wants a refund, or someone wants to extend, or someone, whatever, you want to have policies for all that. My experience has been that the most successful studios without, and by success, I mean, they seem to be the least stressed about it. They don't have it at a high occurrence. They're not like habituating people to do that. And they're not getting like major complaints. I think you're going to get some complaint at some point, but like nothing is out of whack. It's because the path is easy, but it's fair. It's logically fair because and you really and your whole team can embody like, this is fair. At which point you don't have to, you don't have to emotionally react. Someone comes in. I had this happen to me in a studio even. It was years ago. I was holding Arjuna. He was like 6 months old. I'm holding the baby. The class has gone in, and a lady came in and started yelling at me about like she wanted money back and she couldn't make it into this class because it was late, blah, blah, blah. But like, I stayed totally calm and non-reactive and empathized with the situation and just repeated our policy and told her what I could do. And she stormed out, and then she came back in the same day, 3 hours later, and was like, man, I'm sorry. That was way out of line. Right? Like, I didn't have to do anything. But the key, I think, to that is having absolute confidence and knowing that you have a fair policy so that you can just relaxedly stick to it. Maybe let's talk about what a fair policy looks like.
I have a story about that, a good example of that that's totally outside of our industry. What you just reminded me of was standing and just being calm. Okay, I admit, I scroll, I watch YouTube shorts and Instagram.
Oh my God.
I know. It's like, I know, I do. And I saw one, it was about, I don't know that, it's Repo Man. And it was a filmed interaction where he was a repo bail bondsman. Somebody had put up bail, had used his Tahoe, his Chevy Tahoe, I think Chevy makes it, as collateral for the bail bond for his cousin. The cousin was a no-show at court. Therefore, he forfeited his Tahoe. So this guy shows up and he had full metal jacket. I mean, he had a bulletproof vest on. You know, I don't think he was packing, but he was definitely look paramilitary. All right. And he shows up, of course, they have the tow truck, and the guy's coming out, and he and his wife are just in this guy's face. And the thing that was impressive, he just stayed, like you just said, he stayed calm. And he said, this is what you signed. This is what you agreed to. Therefore, he just kept repeating that same thing over and over as they're hauling it away. And I just thought, wow, that's calm under pressure. But yeah, it was just calm. They were coming at him full barrel, but he was just calm and just kept saying the policy.
Well, the policy's fair.
It's like, yeah, you signed, you agreed that
You agreed to it.
You
Yeah.
agreed to it. If your deadbeat cousin doesn't show up, we're going to repossess your Chevy Tahoe.
Right, you agree.
Yeah. Maybe that's a contractual thing, you know? You want to get out early, you got to have collateral to sign into a contract at a yoga studio.
Sure.
I want your
the
Chevy Tahoe.
Yeah,
I want the Tahoe.
I want the Tahoe.
Yeah. I think we used to do I mean, some time ago we talked about this. We used to do a yes fee.
A yes fee?
Yeah, we had what we called a yes fee. It was $35 at the time, which is probably a bit low now. But it was, our policy is no transfers, no refunds, no extensions, no early cancellation, no anything. That's the policy. And if someone comes in and says, I don't want to be subject to this policy, I don't even give a shit what the reason is. The answer is yes, but you got to pay the yes fee. You want to extend it? Sure, it's $35. You want to give it to your cousin? It's $35. You want to get out of the 3-month contract at the time, which we did have? Yep, $35.
I like that.
The yes fee.
Yeah.
And it was just written in everywhere. It was one fee across the board for, it didn't matter what the fuck it was. The whole team knew, you're like, if you're going to bend the rules, charge them the yes fee, move on with your life.
I like a yes fee.
I like a yes fee.
Yeah, maybe 65 or 85 now.
Yeah. So I interrupted you, Josh, as per usual. So you said, what are fair policies, Carol and Nina?
What
would be considered a fair policy?
Yeah, what's a fair policy? Membership cancellation, what's fair policy? Or something like that. I guess, yeah, if you don't have terms, it doesn't matter. But what would a fair policy look like?
If they want to out early, is that what you're saying?
Sure.
Whatever it is. What's a fair policy? Yeah. How would you decide how would you guys define a policy nowadays?
I personally prefer there's no minimum. That's what I prefer. It's just, this is the price. Come and go as you please. You can self-cancel. There's no minimum. Period. I like that. It's easy, fair. And if it's priced fair, it's like, yeah. That's what I think. What about you, Karen?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and we had a 5 days notice, you know, before your next billing date to cancel. And at the same time, I wanted to make sure that everyone left with feeling good. So if they even got to us 3 or 4 days, you know, if it was a 1 or 2 day, I'd say, you know, our policy is 5 days, but since I saw this in time, I'm happy to make that, you know, adjustment for you right away. But if it's like after the fact, that's whenever I would do an admin fee. Like I can, you know, we don't do refunds, but you can tell by their tone if they're really pissed about it or not. Like I didn't know about that, you know, whatever excuse they had. If they wanted a refund, we had an admin fee, and it was across the board, kind of like the yes fee. Yeah, I can refund it minus the $20 or $30 admin fee, because I was like, one, I'm going to be charged from the credit card company, you know, both directions. I was just like, it's taking up my time, so you're going to get charged a fee. Oh, okay. Sorry, there was a little note popping up. I wasn't sure what that was.
I tried a new note taker. Interesting.
Okay.
Our new note taker is telling Terry she's being quiet. This note taker is bullshit. Cancel it. Well, that note taker, that AI, Otter AI is broken. No
I'm
way.
taking
No
a
way.
screenshot. I am absolutely screenshotting this because
Like,
I
this is proof. This is proof I
just
don't always talk the whole time. No way, dude. I think let's suppose you have an unlimited membership with no term, and you have an unlimited membership with a 12-month term. The 12 months the better option price-wise per class. Someone 6 months in, they want to cancel. Yes fee could be one thing. Pay your next month could be one thing, but actually not totally dissimilar to what Terry was saying. Didn't make a lot of sense. What if this is just a thought, like, what if across the board your policy is you can switch between any membership thing we have at any point in time. You pay the difference. Like, if you were to switch your airplane ticket, if the ticket that you're going is an upgrade or downgrade, the difference shifts.
Yeah.
Now they add other fees to it because airplanes are like the most bullshit on the planet right now. That's what's happening in Canada. There's a lot of laws that are going to come down on
airlines.
airports, airlines. Yeah, because it's such
Oh my God!
random.
You look at your plane
all
ticket.
over the place.
But there's your base fare, and then it's this fee, this tax. It's like almost doubles the price of the ticket.
Well, and here's the game there. This is how this all like impacts larger industry. Whether it's been a conspiracy theory all along or not, which I don't think it has been, you get a new airline comes in, and then they make their fees really, really low. The taxes and stuff are the same, but then they take away all the amenities. When I was a kid, you went on a plane and you got a meal, period. Now, right? Like, now the cheapest airline, you can't even bring on anything other than like a clutch.
Unless you pay for it.
Unless you pay for it.
I got yelled at for wearing this fanny pack.
Yeah.
I was wearing it on my purse. I mean, on my body. And she's like,
yeah,
that's it. I'm like, what the fuck? I'm wearing it.
Yeah, my friend in town said, I don't care what their policy is. I have a boob size. If I can fit it in my bra or it's approximately the same size, it makes no difference. Fuck you, I'm coming on the plane. And she'll just standing there and said that to someone once, and they were just like, never mind, let's just go through. But I can't play that game, obviously. No boobs. But
oh, you could if you wanted to.
Well, that's true.
Just
I could probably
hey,
do the ass. I would go with the ass.
You could say, look,
I have enough kabuti. It could be like, I'm carrying this anyways. What's the difference? Okay. But the airlines, yeah, the cheaper one comes in, takes amenities away. You would think that drives down the price and other things. All that does is actually increases the price, because then the cheap airline becomes the new on par with what the other cheaper one is, and that one goes up. So it actually just increases the entire industry's price. That's the thing that's been happening in Canada for the last decade that they have a lot of proof on, and it's pretty janky. To the policy thing, yeah, what if you're like, okay, you buy a 10-pack for $200, you're 5 classes in, you're like, nah, I want to switch from the 10-pack over to your monthly membership. Cool, I'll apply that over.
I think everybody does that. I think almost everybody will do that, no problem.
Right, but what if you did the reverse too? Your policy is like, switch. I'm on a monthly membership, and I want to switch to a 10-pack, and I'm in a contract for 1 more month. You're like, cool, like, we'll just apply those.
That's what I did.
To buy the contract over the 10-pack or whatever. Like, you just switch between it, just pay the difference, whatever it is.
That's what I did.
There we go, we solved it.
And I think it boils down to, just as you said, transparency. And if we go back to having that contract, say, okay, you can cancel. If you cancel within the 12 months, there's an X cancellation fee you pay.
Sure. Or first and last. That's another thing that I could see. I don't love that, but if you were doing a bigger contract, it's like you were liable for first and last always.
What about waiving the cancellation fee if you move to the less?
Well, hey, yeah, we'll waive the cancellation fee if you buy one of these other options. If you downgrade to one of these options. I mean, you could do that for sure. I think the idea of the 30, going back to the annual monthly, that's for an annual is, And part of me is like, I think that's can be an interesting idea, and if he like, hey, and if you stay on, and or just make it on the monthly without the contract, say, and if you stay on for 12 months, you get your 13th month free.
Yeah. Yeah, have a positive incentive.
Have a positive incentive.
You know what I could see this doing to the industry is this in a roundabout way. And I think that that's what certainly the policymakers are blind to, that this will happen. Because here's my only like other side of the coin argument. I personally don't like in business when there's a bunch of parameters that are enforced from government policy. The example right now, it's not that there need to be some. To say that there should be none, I don't personally agree with that either, because there's like a human element here that has to be part of it.
Societal contract.
But like California is a good example where the intention is positive behind everyone needing to be an employee and the more clarity on that. So I'm not entirely against it, but man, has it ever driven like its prices just keep going up and things like that. And in part because of these types of controls, where it's like the cost of doing business goes up, and it eliminates flexibility for you to formulate how you want to do business. You basically have to do business the way they want you to do business now. And so that's where some of this stuff I feel like I love out of principle a little less from that perspective. And because business and industry will find a way. It's like the friggin' Jurassic Park syndrome with Ian Malcolm, like life will find a way. Business will find a way. Like they'll find a way to fucking find a new way to make something happen. This is a long-winded way of saying, I think that this leads the charge faster towards tokenization and dissociated payments. This moves into credit system quicker.
I was just going to mean credit system. Yeah.
Yeah.
Everything's
going that direction. That's going to be all payments for everything everywhere. People just, if you don't see it, then you got to pick your head up, because it's already here and it's coming real fast. Studios are going to be in general, that would be my prediction. When, I don't know, like we're a slower adopter group, the yoga studio world, because of be around these sorts of things. But this pushes it further that way. Where it's like,
I was gonna say, oh, go ahead.
You're not gonna pay $100 for an amount of time. You're gonna pay $100 for, you're gonna trade your dollars for
services,
studio credits, and then you're gonna use the credits to pay for things. And that's gonna be the path that'll buffer from things like this. You're like, nope, you said $100, 100 credits. I gave you 100 credits sitting on your account.
Use them for what you want. Yeah, we just got a new client, and I was looking at their website yesterday, and I noticed that they have the price option, but they also have credit options on their website too, as well.
Yeah,
it'll be interesting. So here's
that's a tricky sales cycle right now, because the public is less accustomed to it, but we're not far out. If you Wheeler and my son Arjuna, like this is their reality. Not like they understand this, not like they lean this way. They literally, this is how their brains think about finance. Tell me if I'm wrong, of course, Carol.
Yeah, they're living it. I mean, Roblox world, you buy credits to buy things in the game, so.
Well, yeah. Who's leading the charge in that in our industry is ClassPass.
ClassPass has proven it.
Yeah, they've proven it. That's once they went to 100% credits, it's like it makes it.
They saw a 20 to 30%, depending on what you read, revenue jump by forcing everyone to credits.
Yeah. So they've proven that it does work, and that people will respond to it.
Yeah.
And in some ways, it solves for the whole issue of, you want to take that popular 9:30 class on Saturday morning, fine, but it's going to cost you 6 credits. It's going to cost you the maximum credits. If you want to take the 6:30 a.m. on Thursday morning, it'll only cost you 2 credits.
Yeah.
So in some ways, you actually think in terms of leveling the playing field, making it completely fair and fair. It's like you get to manage how you use your credits. And if you're like, I want to be super frugal, I'm going to take only take the classes that have require the least amount of credits. So I'm able to extend my credit. Well, I don't have to buy it. I can still practice every day if I want. But because I'm not practicing at that peak time, I'm able to go 6 weeks with my credits instead of 3 weeks if I'm practicing at all the popular times.
Yeah.
So that's an interesting dynamic shift there. And can
Yeah.
help, just make those super popular classes. You want to take, Josh's class on Saturday, it's going to cost you 10 credits.
Yeah. I
Okay.
think, I think there's so many advantages to it in theory that it's just going to make sense for higher volume studios, especially.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is actually a
ahead.
segue into something that I had posted for our team earlier this week. And it actually goes to this whole thing about transparency. So I thought would be perfect time to talk about it on the roundup is I have a client who has, if you cancel your membership, when you get on, you get a special membership price. And if you cancel and come back, you pay a higher membership price as an incentive to stay on the membership. And it's about a $20 difference. Well, recently there's been a studio that's opened up not so far away and some people have canceled. And it's like, well, if they come back, they're going to pay the higher. And people are already talking about that. So yesterday or whenever we had our call, and I've always was like, maybe we should get rid of this. So he's agreed we should get rid of it. So we're going to go to everybody pays the same price. You come off, you come back on at the same price. Now, the question becomes what to do with the 25 odd people that are already paying that higher price. And we did work it out. It's $350 a month less in membership payments. So be transparent. Okay, so here's the thing. Do we let them know we're doing it? Do we say, if you come to the desk, we'll do it for you? Or do we, I'm thinking, and I'd love to hear you guys, is just do it and don't say anything to them. Just go in. And if they notice that they're paying $20 less a month, just say, oh yeah, we adjusted our membership rates and we reduced your membership rate. Because the concern is that maybe some of these folks might come back and say, well, I want a refund. I want a credit for all those months I've been paying this higher price.
No.
So what do you guys have? What's the best way you think to handle something like that?
I say do let them know that you're lowering the price, and you don't have to tell them why. It's just, guess what? We love our members. The new price is $169. Love you, bye. I doubt anyone would come because they don't know that it's just, and if somebody did ask, no, just no.
Yeah.
It's the new price.
I kind of lean towards what Terry's talking about and just not saying anything, because I have realized, especially in recent years, that a lot of people don't even look at their credit card bill. They are not like me where it's like check, check, check. They're not even gonna notice. And half of the people won't notice. I guarantee you, they're not checking it. They're not gonna know anything. So
How you get people coming back and saying, I didn't know they didn't check and 6 months later, they realized they've been being billed every month.
exactly. So
let them know, because I think it's a nice thing to do for them. And so I think let them know that you're doing this nice thing for them.
Yeah, I'm in Nina's camp on this one. I feel like I see the idea of like triggering too much attention towards it, but how often do you get to be like communicating that you're lowering a price for someone? Sort of a special opportunity. The other thing about the 350, like, so there's been a few studios throughout the years where we've done this, where it's been a big change, where we're talking about like it's 100 people that are going to go down in price as we're re-optimizing pricing. We're never trying to do that, but it has happened, and that's
Sometimes it makes
tumultuous.
sense.
Yeah. So when we've done that, one of the techniques is you're going to need some time for that transition to be made and for it to come into place. So we tell people that it's happening as a thank you for them, and it comes into effect like 2 or 3 months in the future. That gives you enough window of time for you to go in and actually make any of the manual adjustments that have to be, which nowadays you can do much faster. But it also, like, there's no rule to say, like, because you're going to make that the policy for everyone new coming forward, that you have to go backwards. So you just tell them it comes into effect in 1 month. In the case of 350, to be like, cool, this comes into effect as of December 1st.
Your December payment. Yeah, I mean, because we're not talking.
By then, you're going to have the 2 more clients to make up the $350. So
that was my point. Yeah. That was my point. And so I think, it's just do it in one fell swoop, because there's not that many of them. I mean, seriously, it's just sitting down So, I mean, that at admin lift, we're probably talking, you could probably do the whole thing in less than 2 hours.
Yeah.
And just
Or the one thing we have done, and this is, again, it's not specific to this, it's like larger volume. There's a studio once where I think there were like 180. It was like close to 200 people that were going to go down $10. So it was a significant change. It was a significant financial change. It was a significant admin lift. This was also 5 years ago, where it's like even how you did in the system was more difficult. So the communication was sent to them that it's happened, but what we were also doing was updating the contractual agreement and policies that they had actually signed. And that was a more important detail, that it was like, okay, you're Terry on this existing membership at 150. Surprise, we've changed your membership, so it's only 140. You absolutely get to have it at 140, but with all of its terms, conditions, and policies, which were slightly different. So you have to opt in yourself to do this. And so we've made them put the cancellation request in, cancel their existing membership, and opt into the new membership with the new policies. The policy differences weren't enormous, but there were a couple of things there that, like, you wanted them to re-agree and reestablish everything with. That's the other way. That's the other way to potentially play it. It's like, put the ball in their court. That spaces it out a little bit. It makes it fair, but it also makes sure like everyone's updated on
the contract,
current policies, contracts, etc. Yeah.
Okay, well, this gives me some ideas and some suggestions.
The point being, like, you might have someone on a contract for an auto pay, or they might even have a contract of any sort, or they have one. It's fun. They've been on with five years with you. Like, that contract is so fucking old and has 10 things that are wrong and it's missing 3 things in it. Like, that's the other element to potentially do. When it's this small, I would tend to say, like, this is not even a discussion. Just do it, move on with your life. But,
all right. Well, thank you, team.
I want to go back to the cancellation thing, because it's related to all this contracts and agreements and stuff. So not how do they exit? How do you save someone at cancellation? Because I agree with the statement that's been made. Like, someone's canceling, 8 out of 10 chance, you done fucked up. You know, like, it's real hard to save people. Carol, I don't know what you're saying. The YC data points, so I think it's different with coaching clients. When we had it last, the percentage of people that you save canceling, it's like class pass conversions. It's like below 5%. Carol, are you seeing any technique that seems to be working or anything like that?
Well, it's triggering for me, like, we need more data so we know how to, like, when we're in the sales role, right, we're trying to gather more information so we know which way to steer them. So in the same way, and when they're canceling, we need to know why they're canceling. We need to know if we have a package that better suits them, you know. So obviously having a cancellation funnel that asks them a few questions and maybe gets some more data can be helpful. And so that we know, because I think there is a world in which, especially with this new filing, that we would cancel right away, but also, like Terry was saying, put them in a funnel. If we know, okay, they're moving, they're out, we're, you know, probably not going to get them back. If they had an injury, different funnel. If they are just sick, or, you know, are taking a break for whatever reason, maybe there's just different ways that we could target them going forward to try to get them back. But yeah, by the time they cancel, it's really challenging to get them back unless you know what the deal is. But I loved having our cancellation survey, because going back to, I know we've talked about this a long time ago, but I used to take every cancellation so personally. And I would think, like, who fucked up? What class did they last take? What happened? Like, it must have been something terrible, just absolutely terrible must have happened at the studio for them to cancel. And once we had that cancellation survey in place, it was like, oh, I'm moving. I still love the studio. Or, there's so many positive responses from that. And just from a studio owner standpoint, it made it an easier pill to swallow. But I don't know. I kind of got off on a tangent there, but data, you need information, to save a cancellation or steer them in the right direction.
And, or as I said before, what are we doing to keep them from
Earlier,
earlier?
before you get there.
What are we doing in terms of membership retention? Like if you have, once somebody becomes a member, do you have a membership nurture series going out? Are you following up? Are you checking in? Are you, and here's one, is like, what about if a member hasn't been in 2 weeks? You pick up the phone and check in with them. How's it going? Is everything okay? We notice you haven't been in. Do you need help with anything? What I think that can be pretty powerful, right? If
We're
you
talking about that recently, just amongst us coaches of,
Yeah.
does that also trigger the person to say, oh yeah, I'm really not using my membership. Actually, I'd like to cancel.
okay, then you have, it's like, well, I'm not coming in enough. Well, hey, we have these other options. Then that's when you can actually have a conversation. And if you're triggering them to cancel, isn't it better that you know that then, whether instead of 3 months later, and they're like, oh, I haven't been coming, I want a refund. Isn't it really being more proactive and holding your core values? Like, hey, I get it. You're not able to get in here. Well, here, did you know that we have this? What about a 10-pack or our 5-class or our mini membership, which is this? It's this price, you have more time, blah, blah, blah. So I think then if you're having that conversation at that point, they might be more open to it because you've proactively reached out to them, as opposed to them saying, oh my God, I forgot to cancel, now I want a refund. And now it's more they're in this position of being defensive. Just saying.
And even the people that, whether they're defensive or not, I think there's an element of like sour taste in your mouth.
Yeah.
There's all sorts of memberships I've canceled where it's like, I'm canceling after 2 months of not using it. I don't ask for a refund. I don't complain. It's not their fault. It's totally on me.
Yeah.
I'm also not going back to those companies ever. Like, I feel shitty about it, even if it's me. It's like, it's totally my fault, but I'm just like, well, I didn't even use it for 2 months. It's like $200. I just fucking wasted on it. Like, I very seldom would go back and look at using a service like that again.
Yeah. So
like, there's like some weird thing that happens. So
I think we got to get over this. We got to get over this fear of triggering cancellation. I hear that a lot.
Well,
I don't want to trigger. I don't want to mention cancellation. I don't want to trigger that. Why are we fearful of that? Because if we're providing a service and a product that people love and value, we should not feel triggered about saying this is how you cancel, because it's part of being transparent, right? Am I wrong?
I think, no, I like what you're saying, Terry. I think, because I agree, and we've talked about, like, you do have to be careful about triggering cancellation. That is something that happens in studios. That being said, that fear in that situation, is it that that's actually a symptom of a bigger problem, right? If we're talking about phoning someone up and having a conversation with them and that triggering cancellation, to me, the problem is you don't know what to say.
Yeah.
If someone says like, oh, actually I was looking at canceling, you don't know what to say next and are not confident that you can flip that conversation, that's actually the problem.
You need to train your staff, have some scripts written, have this just like we do, is what most people do. I think that's a portion of that we don't, and that is why when you hire front desk, it's sales, and this is part of it.
Yeah. There's only 2 studios I know that do this. No, that's not true. 3. I only have the data on 1 and I haven't checked it recently, but this sort of ties a few of these things together. The most successful cancellation save that's not preventative care in the studio is they cancel and then the manager phones every cancellation, the manager specifically. And I think they have a 2 or 3 step process. It's not an email, it is a phone call, and it is immediate. It's within 24 hours of the cancellation, always. If they don't get them on the phone, they follow up with a text message, and then they try phoning again. So like there's legitimate effort to have a contact with this person. And then that's just a conversation, and they have a policy of like what they can do. If they're like, hey, no, it's just price, I can't afford it. They're like, cool, what if I gave you 3 months at half price? And so that works. Their conversion rate, the one time we checked, was like 11%. which is more than double what we're seeing on average. I think it has to do with no one's disgruntled about how hard it was to cancel. There's no obligation and therefore pressure on the, like, I've got to go through this awkward conversation and blah, blah, blah to just say, no, I don't want to fucking pay you anymore. And then there's like, you know, you're being listened to, you're being heard. So like a personal hand touch outreach. I always think about that, like, okay, even if you don't get that person to purchase something and save them right then, how are they going to feel about you in the business afterwards?
Exactly.
Like, what would they tell, what would they tell other people in 6 months when they want to come back in, or they want to do a drop in? Like, where are they going to go? It should come back to you then.
Same thing if you're calling them, and as I just said about, hey, that you call them to check in, you haven't come, is everything okay? Oh, I've been meaning to cancel, and you have that conversation. And even if you don't say anything to cancel, how much better an experience do they have? It's like, wow, they proactively called to check in on me. They noticed that I haven't been there for 2 weeks. That makes me feel really good as a human being, that, yeah, they noticed and care. I'm not just a number. I'm not just money to them. I'm an individual human being. And while I ended up canceling, man, now, you know what? These guys are great. Or maybe I will. What are the chances of that person coming back to you more? I bet you the chances way higher, to your point, Josh. And also referrals.
Yeah.
You know, and if you find out they really love it, say, hey, thank you so much for that. I'm going to send you 5 buddy passes that you can use yourself, or go bring a friend with you. What about something like that? And you can have a special thing. Call it something special in your system. Oh, I like that idea.
Yeah. Not to toot my horn, but
It's
I'm
just
smart.
That was smart. I think that's
That's good. Yeah.
that's great. I don't know. I just, let's get thinking about positively about a cancellation is an opportunity to wow our clients.
I like that a lot as a philosophical approach. And I agree. I mean, that's just good customer service.
Yeah.
These are the things that I think we all, like, everyone knows that these have weight, but then part of the, the state of overwhelm that an owner can find themselves in, you deprioritize these things. And it might not be the biggest priority at all moments, but having some plan for this stuff is a priority. And then going back and looking at it again, to go to Carol's point, I would say that's where data, it's like yoga 101. What's yoga about? Awareness.
Yeah.
Translate that into your business. It's awareness. Why are people canceling? Not the bullshit like, I'm just not practicing enough. Like, actually, why are people canceling? Get to the bottom of it. What percentage of people are you saving with that offer? You're like, oh, I tried offering them a 10 pack at a discount or whatever. Is it working or not? They're like, I don't know. Like, I've sold a couple of them. Well, what exactly is happening? How many people got the offer and, for sure saw it? How many people clicked on it? How many people actually purchased it? What's the number? What's the conversion? Like getting that data to make informed, high awareness decisions around this stuff and optimizing it. Yeah. And I think I made a little reel or short video or whatever the other day that was saying, like, we've all heard the statement, it costs 5 times more to get a new client than it does to retain an existing client. No, it doesn't.
It's much more than that.
It's 10 times more. Yeah.
It's got to be more than that. Yeah.
It's more than that for sure. Yeah.
Well, here's an interesting, not going to cancellations, but going back to what are you doing to nurture them? And we know statistically that the average month on a membership is 4 to 6 months. So if we know that, and if you're tracking that, your KPIs, where do they fall off? So what are you doing the 6 to 8, 6 weeks before that? And I went through this with a client, I've done this with several clients. It's like, okay, this is how many people you've had cancel this year. If you could have gotten 50% of those people to stay even one more month. In one client's case, it was like tens of thousands of dollars because they had so many clients, right? And even in the smallest was like $2,000 to $3,000 a month. Well, if you're let's say your sales are $10,000 a month and you get another $3,000 just by getting people to stay one more month, that's huge.
Yeah.
And it just the more members you have, the higher that number is going to be. So it's like, just okay, we know, how can we keep this person just one more month organically? Not that you're forcing it, but if we just improve our retention, improve what we're doing in the studio, improve with our teachers doing all these things to make this client experience, and we move from 4 months to 5 months, holy hell.
Yeah. There's a studio that I worked with some years back. That was exactly one of the major strategies. We're looking at increasing LTV and increasing retention rate. They were at 6 months. We wanted to go to 7. They charge $120 a month, and they had about 500 members.
Yeah.
120 by 500 is $60,000. No new people in the doors, no more conversions, no new products, no more just 1 more month. So yeah, it definitely has.
That could be the
potential
difference between being profitable and not.
That's the owner's pay or not.
Yeah, there's your owner's pay.
Yeah.
And rather than
Yeah,
spending,
you should get paid. Let me be clear. You should be getting paid more than 60,000 by far, especially in a 500 member studio. But
yeah,
that's the difference, between actual margin, actual pay, actual flexibility or not. Yeah.
that's
All
right.
right.
We have one more topic because we got some time. So one of our members posted, it's just sort of this is an operational administrative thing, is how do you run an effective meeting? She was asking, how do you run an effective meeting? What is an effective meeting? I thought it was a great question, right? Because it's like, how do you, oh yeah, I'm having a team meeting. Well, or I'm having a team meeting. There's what type of meeting? I started thinking about, I actually have some posts ready to go out. It's like, what type of meeting? Is it like once a quarter staff meeting with all team? Well, that might be a slightly different meeting than, are you having what we call weekly sprint meetings with like your management team or your leadership team? So what is an effective meeting? Inquiring minds want to know. Do you guys even know what that phrase comes from? Am I really dating myself with that one? The National Enquirer, the original gossip rag. Inquiring minds want to know.
I heard the statement. I didn't know it come from there.
For starters, have a clear expectation of how long is the meeting. It starts at this time and it ends at this time. And ahead of time, here are the agenda items.
Yep.
And then you actually stick to that. Definitely the time piece.
I think one of the things that came up, I believe, in the post that she did in the network was sort of gets derailed by a lot of chatter about other things, and to me, it brought up like, well, do they have an effective way to communicate outside of the meeting? Like if your team is sort of like getting together and they have to that's when everything is like aired and like this student is doing that and what are we going to do about this? Like maybe there's a chance to have that conversation elsewhere, and do they have a place to do that effectively so that you can stay on track for your meeting?
And I think also adding in that, particularly if you're getting together in person, but even in Zoom, because we do this when we get on the roundup first, we always chit chat before. So maybe you build in that chit chat time. Before, like build in 15 minutes of just, as people are arriving, just check. And, also to Nina's point is like checking in, what's going on? What's a win for you? That type of thing. And actually building that into the agenda. Now, here's a big one is, you should pay them.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
100%. Gone are the days where, I give them food.
Yeah. It's funny now. It's actually funny now to even say that, because that was normal.
Yeah.
That was 20 years people did that.
Yeah. And then the other thing I've had conversations with clients about, you don't have to pay them their teaching rate if it's with the teachers. Just have an hourly meeting rate and have it set up in your system as meeting rate or training rate. And then have the teachers clock in. And when I had meetings, I sat at the front desk in Mind Body and I just clocked everybody in as they arrived. And then after the meeting, I just went in and clocked everybody out. But they can also do it on their phones, but have them clock in, have them clock out, and tell them you will be paid for your time. Even if they're independent contractors and you want them at the meeting, you can say, look, I will pay you this rate for attending this meeting.
Yeah. No, especially if it's you want to make meetings mandatory. That's the other thing is like, it's funny, part of the conversation by extension that comes from that, like, well, I'm not going to pay you, but there's going to be food, but I'd really like it if you could be there. Then you're like, well, I can't make it mandatory because they're not even paid. Or like, I'm not sure, I can't even get my team together. It's so hard to schedule them to get it together. If that's the kind of stuff that you have coming out of your mouth, you have like bigger issues in your team structure. No shade, but it's like that, it shouldn't be like that. So by extension, it's like meetings should be pre-scheduled. Pre-schedule a team meeting 4 times a year. You don't even need to know what you're going to talk about. You're going to need the meeting.
And put
Tell
it
everyone
out.
right up front. Yeah, up front. Here's when they are. Like I'm telling you 6 months in advance and sending you a reminder a month out. Don't fucking tell me like, oh, but I'm out of town that weekend. Like, you know.
Or, so, and how often should they be? I'm at a studio now, I teach at a studio that now we have, this is new, maybe like 6 months, once a month. It's a little,
Yep.
it's a little often for me, but it's once a month and it's Zoom. And so it's very flexible in that way. And if you can't make it, you watch the recording and then you send in your 3 takeaways and then you're paid.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. I would, it depends on which team we're talking about.
Yeah.
We're talking about like admin team, building stuff, weekly.
Weekly.
Yeah. If you're talking about an all-team staff meeting, minimum quarterly, I would probably be pushing towards monthly in most cases.
I think it depends a lot also on how big your team is. And one thing I
Yeah.
like, going back to Carol's point about how are you communicating outside? So like, I always like, I love Carol did when she owned her studio, she did her Monday minutes.
Yeah.
Right. So I think a lot of this stuff can be just, if you're using a communication tool like Slack, is like, you can send out an all team communication update like weekly about
an internal newsletter.
internal newsletter that and communicating stuff like that. But one of the things we do at the summit is one of the first, I think the first or second day at the summit is everybody who attends, they schedule their team meetings and they put them on their calendars. That's one of their homework items. So when they leave the meeting, it's like they've got their 2025 schedule planned out. So and maybe I think I feel quarterly for the whole team with the teachers. Monthly, I don't know.
It depends on the team. I think all team at least quarterly. It's
Quarterly.
definitely not longer than quarterly. It's too long. Yeah. The all team monthly depends on how big your team is and like how integrated they are into the happenings of the studio or whatever. Because you can asynchronously, to your point with Slack and stuff, you can asynchronously communicate a lot of other just like housekeeping things. So that goes back to like the specificity of how do you run an effective meeting? Well, you have a timeline, you have an itinerary, you send it to people ahead of time so that they have it before they arrive. You start it on time, you pay them on it. Those are the starting points. And then the thing, and this is still generic, there's some more specific things I could add to here, but the thing that I see is team meetings end up being 2 hours long and they're fucking boring. We spend 30 minutes yapping about this one student that blah, blah, blah. And it's like, we don't need to talk about this here. We didn't need to get together to have this conversation. And they're not interactive. You're just talking at me about a bunch of shit. Why are we in a team meeting? That's a video you can send me. So the subject matter in the team meeting, it's not that you never go over anything, but I would be trying to weight the majority of it towards creating a very specific outcome or solving a specific problem in a highly interactive way.
And then post-meeting, during the meeting, who's responsible? Okay, we've decided to do this, this, and this. Who's responsible for it? When does it need to be done by? And then a follow-up afterwards. Right? I mean, so that if there are specific actionable items, everybody knows what they are and when they're due by.
Yeah. Yeah, I think this is one concept that doesn't lend itself to studios as easily as organically, but I think the concept has the correct energy of approach. If we're going to have a meeting and the meeting is a discussion about how do we do X, Y, Z, I could prep everyone for the meeting by saying, we're having a meeting about how do we handle XYZ. And then here's the history of what's happened. Here's the data that we do know. And here are the 2 or 3 things that we're considering already. And I pre-send that to you and make a video walking you through it. And or if you get to the meeting, the first 5 minutes of the meeting is, we will not continue this meeting. Everyone zip it, 0 talk, read this document first. And now we start our meeting on a thing. So there's no time in the meeting talked about just randomly talking about something. Like, oh, next month, don't forget upcoming yoga challenge. No, be like, make sure you've checked the calendar. Are there any questions on it? Cool, next. You know, I think it's important to have the in-person meetings, but if you make them more interactive, you make them like really productive based. Oh, that's what I was gonna say. And then they're collaborative, and then it's a funny word, but then they're fun. You know, the reason people don't come to your staff meetings is because they suck and they feel like a waste of time and energy for me. Like I'm saying it a little bit harsh, but like that's the thing to look at. Even to Nina's comment, well, the studio here, it's kind of monthly. It's a little bit a lot for me. Like, even if they pay me for it, like the between the lines commentary there is, I don't feel extra empowered going to these meetings. I'm not excited about the next one. And I would rather not make the $20 to go sit there for an hour.
It's 15. And I like the people very much, but we
Right.
spent about 20 minutes going around and saying what we're grateful for, or, you know, and I love that shit. But it takes I'm like,
If you have a big team, that could take a while. Hey, Nina, I want to say, I was paying $20 6 years ago. And you're in Florida.
I know. So,
Yeah.
and I like these people.
15's high in Florida. 15's high in
And
Florida.
asterisk, and you're in Florida.
Right. Yeah. So,
Yeah, I think, how can you make your meeting interactive, productive, enjoyable, fun? And like, here's the other thing, another concept is, how do you start to measure that? We do that on some of our meetings. Not all the time, we're not as diligent about it, but because we have a small team. But start to score your meetings. And that sounds like an annoying step, but it'll tell you a lot.
Well, here's one thing that would beyond that is, let's say you are solving for a thing. And let's say with teachers, like, how do we improve attendance in all our classes? Right? And you brainstorm, what are the things? What are we going to do? What are the strategies? Let's say that's the problem we're solving for in this meeting. We're specifically meeting for, we need to increase our attendance across all our classes. What can we do? Share our ideas, bring blah, blah, blah. And then you come out of that, okay, these are the things we agree we're going to do. And that is quantitatively, you can look at down the road. It's like, guys, you're doing great. Our attendance has increased.
Yeah.
Right. So these are some of the things that are qualitative.
Well, the scoring the meeting, I would use a 3-point scoring system. So let's say you have 5 questions that you're going to ask about the meeting, and you can only score them 0, 1, or 2. 0 is hell no, 1 is meh, and 2 is fuck yeah. Like, there's no in between, so it's less subjective. And then because there's 5 questions, your total score is 10. Get your average out of 10. Then you would say, if we ever have a meeting, this is exactly what we do. If we ever have a meeting that scores below 8 out of 10, our next meeting is about how to make our meeting better. We cannot have another meeting until we fix it. We should never have less than an 8 out of 10 score.
Would you though say, Josh, that's really more for like your management leadership team as opposed to like your all team? Would you apply that?
I would apply it to all team. Yeah. I'm suggesting that the owners that Nina's referring to, like, are lovely and we're doing this thing. It's like, depending on what those 5 questions are, I bet that they are doing the best they can, think that the meeting is good and productive. And if you were to ask them, they're like, yeah, that was a successful meeting, but they're going to say it like that, as opposed to like quantitatively being able to say, we just had a 9 out of 10 meeting. So it would be fascinating. I'm just saying you could make it more data driven.
yeah.
And how do you make a meeting better? You're like, okay, I'm trying this format. I'm going to try to do this thing. This is the outcome that I want it to be. Therefore, I'm going to ask these questions, and therefore I'm going to get this score on that. then you can start to actually optimize it. Otherwise, you can try, there's a few different formats out there. There's different reasons why you do them, but like, how do you know if they're actually producing the result that you want? And which goes to the question that's posted in the Mighty Network or in the YC, right? How do you have a productive meeting? With the second part of that question that's insinuated is, how do you measure if a meeting's good?
Yeah.
Well, what's your objective with the meeting? Is the objective of the meeting to just get everyone physically together and to do something? Well, go play laser tag or something then. Don't have a meeting.
Okay.
Like what's the outcome specifically, or outcomes that you want from the meeting?
And I would also say, if you double down too, if you are having productive meeting, if you're not having productive meeting, that's a problem. But if you feel like you are having you put some of these things in place and then you still have teachers not showing up, then maybe that teacher shouldn't be on the team.
Meetings are a testing ground as well. I think, to your point, Terry.
It's like, particularly, I mean, I know that, and again, I go back to my short spent as teaching 1 day a week. I showed up for everything. Even though I was, and you hear that like, oh, they only teach one class a week or they only do, but yeah, if they're really engaged in the community and the meetings are effective, and these meetings weren't even that effective and I still showed up. If meetings are effective, engaging, all that stuff, and teachers choose not to come in their schedule in advance, all that stuff. And it's like, is this someone we really want on our team?
Or you adjust your expectations for both you and them.
Yeah.
Terry, you teach once a week. I need you to come to our all team meeting once a quarter. That's fair. I don't need you to come to our weekly team meeting.
Yeah.
You teach once a week. That doesn't make any sense, team meetings. Well.
Yeah, and it's explicit. It should be explicit if we didn't already cover this in the teacher agreement.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's a written agreement.
And any agreement you have,
Yep.
regardless whether front desk, teacher, whatever, because typically you're having your all team meetings unless you're like a studio that is open from early, open all the time, right? You have team meetings where it's like you're closed and everybody's there, so it's maybe not their regular shift kind of thing. And we even do this with the on-sites. And I know studios have done this even without like when we come in on on-site and we're doing the sales training, ideally they cancel the classes for the night. So that's the other thing too, is you could if you really need to get the team together, and you can always and just say, hey, we're having a team meeting or product team development meeting. And if you've enough notice, you put it up there one night a quarter, you close for a few hours. What's wrong with that? I don't know.
Yeah, figure out how to make it work. I think what we're alluding to too is the commentary that as coaches we all hear all the time, which is like, oh, it's so hard to get them together, or I don't know, or this person's not gonna that. And like we're making excuses for our team all the time around this stuff, as opposed to saying, I'm running a business and I need this to happen to be able to communicate efficiently and effectively and to get the team all on the same page around XYZ. I don't give a shit if you like that we're having a meeting or not. That's part of what's happening. But that's the expectation part. And then I think that owners are really scared about changing expectations. I think that's another thing. Like there's a rigidity around some of these things in business that accidentally happens. And this is one of them. Like, oh, well, I didn't tell Carol 5 years ago when she came on to teach for me that we're going to have a monthly teacher meeting that I expect her to show up to. I'm going to pay her for. So I can't ask her to do that.
And okay, so here goes.
That doesn't make sense. Of course you can.
The rigidity, and again, fear-based is like, well, I can't do that because I'm afraid they don't want to teach her anymore. Well, again, not running your business from fear, which leads to, why don't you update your employment agreement once a year? They have to re-sign it.
Well, if you're a subcontractor, it's every 6 months.
You have to every 6 months. But if they're employees, there's nothing to say that if you have an employee agreement, it has to be forever.
No, of course. You should have, one of the standard things that a lawyer like Corey would put into your agreements is subject to change on XYZ parameter.
Yeah. And then just, you have change, it could be part of every year, first of the year, here, re-sign the employee agreement, and oh yeah, by the way, re-sign your W-4. Ideally, they should be submitting a W-4 every year, a new W-4 every year. That's ideal. So it's like, here, everything, you know, do a check-in. Everything's still the same on your contact information. Great. Everything here, re-sign your W-4. Fill this out again. I'm talking about the United States now. And then boom, here's the employee agreement, re-sign. Just make it a standard practice once a year. Even if nothing's changed, it doesn't hurt to have that as a reminder for people as well.
Yeah. Yeah, just standard reminder.
As a standard reminder.
All right.
I think this is good.
Go get your employees hyped up and bring one of them with you to the summit. And
We're almost sold out. So if you are on the,
only a couple spots left.
There
only-
were,
Yeah.
there were, and then there's people are jumping in last minute.
yeah,
Yeah. I think there's 2, maybe 3.
Wow.
no, I
Maybe
know
there's 2,
there's not 3 because one of my clients from the Netherlands.
3
coming.
if it's a shared room or something, maybe.
No, I think it's 2 and one of them share. I don't know, but there's not many.
Yeah, there's like a couple. Anyways, get in there. Also, I do think there's 1 VIP spot left, or maybe it's sold out. I don't know. Is it the GST didn't sold out? Never mind, it's sold out. You can't do it. Sorry. I was gonna say, part of what you're doing at the summit beyond your planning, putting pen to paper, all of this is getting to have the discussion around these things in more depth, not only with the coaching team, but with all of your peers, such as cancellation funnels. So you get to meet another owner that's running a cancellation funnel that you might be considering, or that's having staff meetings at a certain cadence, and just get to, you know, learn from that direct experience and about what is or isn't working. Get some of that deeper hive mind, bigger collaborative peer-to-peer conversation too is always a huge component of the summit. So
All right. Well, thank you
That's
everybody
it.
for hanging out. Post comment below what your thoughts about all of this stuff we've talked about, and yeah, do your due diligence on the cancellation, make sure everything's up to date, and sign up for the summit. There's still some spots. I think that about covers it.
peace.